What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Triple Play Fantasy Football coming at you. The Bradster Damas, Johnny Foosball, D. Mendy here with you guys tonight. No Doc. He's I think, celebrating his birthday festivities with some reffing. So good to him.
When's Doc's birthday?
Tomorrow. Yeah, how did you not even know
that? I don't know. Wow. All right, but
goodness.
No, I know.
I thought you guys were better than that. I'm just kidding.
David, when's my birthday?
Your birthday is in isn't it in May?
You see? No, wrong.
When is it?
Gonna come at Brad like that.
Wait, when is it?
That's
August, man.
Oh crap.
When's my birthday?
That was my next.
December. You look like a December birthday cat.
March 30th.
Wait, when's my birthday?
Boys. David, you look like a no. You look like a October kind of guy.
I am in October. Wait.
Oh!
Hold on, wait. I got to acknowledge our guy Mad checking in. Doc has bad takes anyway. That's why I love Matt, man.
Matt Zawacki, that's my guy right there. He commented on one of my YouTube videos. I like Matt.
Matt is the man. Always appreciate him checking it out and everybody else that checks out the show. We got a fun one planned for tonight. We've got, of course, we did the NFC East last week. We've got the NFC North this week in our NFC North preview. You know how we do here. We give you guys 30 minutes. We're in and we're out. We give you some of the fantasy stuff you need to know early on in the offseason to get you prepped up for your fantasy drafts. But before I do that, I got to remind you guys that we are proud members of the Fantasy Points Media Group. Now, guys, I have to tell you, the Fantasy Points Media Group, it's like playing Grand Theft Auto with the cheat codes on. That's the type of place it is. I'm telling you guys, when you have access to the Fantasy Points Media Group and everything over at Fantasy Points, the tools they have just make it that much easier to play fantasy football. The redraft rankings are live right now, and I can tell you guys, it's a sneak preview. Najee Harris is their number 2 running back for next season, according to their projections. What do you guys think of that? Najee Harris behind Jonathan Taylor for that. Do you guys agree?
I guess we're just really saying Derrick Henry's going to be hurt.
Yeah, I have Derrick Henry as my RB1 and then Jonathan Taylor, but I got Najee Harris. He's down at RB6 for me, but I don't think that's crazy to have him at 2.
Derrick Henry is the last of tier 1. He's number 9 on the list.
Yeah, I wish he was sticking around number 9.
Keep in mind, this is PPR too, so that's why he's knocked a little.
Even
bit.
So, I think he's going to get so much more work now with AJ Brown gone. He's just their best player. It's going to go through him, like the old CJ McCaffrey days. Christian McCaffrey. I don't know why I call him CJ.
Reminder though, if you can check out, you can check out all of their redraft rankings, their running backs, receivers, quarterbacks. They also have DFS tools, projections, rankings, articles, so much great stuff over at Fantasy Points. Can't say enough great things about them. We're proud to be represented by them. So make sure you check that out today.
Do you have a code, David?
You didn't even finish, Johnny. Goodness gracious. Use code TriplePlay22 and they'll get you guys 10% off, courtesy of Johnny over there. Wants to make sure he hooks you guys up. But all right, let's jump in. Let's talk about the NFC North. And this is an interesting division. A lot of fantasy goodness here and a lot of uncertainty because these teams in the draft, it just tons of different things all over the place. And Johnny, I'd like you to kick it off. You were talking about I believe the Green Bay Packers, who...
Oh, thank God. Every so often I'm like, I did the right team, right?
Aaron Rodgers is back. He's signed for long-term there right now. And Devontae Adams is gone, so there's a whole bunch of targets available. What do we need to know? I guess let's attack the rookies, and then we can attack the whole team.
Yeah, so they got 2 wide receivers, much to everyone's surprise. Christian Watson kind of looks like an MVS replacement if they didn't lose MVS and Devontae Adams, and he somehow slides his way up to wide receiver 1 all of a sudden. But I mean, David, you're a Chiefs fan. You're going to tell me MVS is Calvin Johnson. So they got the next Calvin Johnson. But him and Romeo Dubes, I mean, you said it. The sky's the limit. I don't think a rookie receiver could walk into a more friendly environment to trying to produce than
Lazard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Lazard had a game with 2 catches and 6 yards. Like, I'll get to him later, but he's had some highs, but he's had some lows. He doesn't scare me. If if I have to rank him, obviously the Packers already ranked him. They drafted one before the other, so Watson's the more appealing rookie.
Is it an outlandish take to say that potentially Romeo Dubs could outperform Christian Watson? That JJ Zacharyson does a lot of great research, and he basically classified him just based on his small school production, that it was just a bunch of unfavorable wide receivers. I forget the list, but he was in a class with a bunch of busts based on just his athletic profile. Is it crazy?
Watson or Dubs?
Watson.
Dubes. Oh, okay.
Well,
they both went to small schools, so
yeah. But I think Watson left after 3 years. Did he stay all 4? I think he left after 3.
I think he left after 3.
Yeah,
so I think something about like a certain amount of like production and also
that's appealing to me. He's younger. Yeah. Only in football would coaches and scouts be annoyed that somebody didn't have 1 less year to be molded by them.
I mean, he's an athletic freak, that's for sure. He's 6'5",
big body, long, great hands. I really like Watson a lot. I'm not on the side of people that think he's going to be a bust.
You guys know how old he is, though, right?
I don't care.
23, which is, I feel like, kind of old for a rookie wide receiver.
So David, if you waited another 4 years to come out, you'd be out here going, you know how old he is?
20. Yeah, the cane.
I mean, maybe that can knock down a few spots on your dynasty ranking, but in terms of redraft, like this year, his age doesn't matter to me.
Let me ask you guys. I know we've got other things to get to. For redraft this season, who has a better season, Lazard or Christian Watson?
Lazard.
I was going to say Lazard too, and I just sort of ranked all of them just because Aaron Rodgers is notoriously picky and finicky with his wide receivers. So he already has that rapport, and people can start digging up their old articles. Oh, they had Thanksgiving together. They can pull that one out again.
That's true. Brad, let's talk about your team and that you were going to represent the Detroit Lions.
Yes.
And I like the Lions. I like the biting kneecappers. They're a team that's on the rise. A lot of great weapons there. And they drafted Jameson Williams in the first round. I was so upset the Chiefs didn't jump up to go get him. Why don't you tell us a little bit about him and if there's any other rookies that we should note for this team?
Yeah, I mean, so the Lions really only drafted Jameson Williams in terms of a fantasy relevant rookie. To me, I'm personally not a big fan of him this year because he's going to miss some time recovering from his injury that he suffered at Alabama. And even bigger than that, I don't think this fit with Jared Goff is going to bear fruit. And I think Hawkinson and St. Brown and DJ Chark will lead the team in targets with, Williams being relegated to more of a deep threat role because that's kind of what he did at Alabama. And, when we talk about the free agents they added, I'll talk about why Jared Goff is not the best quarterback for a deep threat role wide receiver.
There's a lot of options on that team. Jameson Williams, it wouldn't shock me if he missed like half the season too as he's recovering. I know they want to bring him along slowly.
He probably should miss half the season, especially if they start off poorly and like it's a lost season.
Yeah, they're not going to. Why hurt him again? Let him sit the whole year.
He's fast.
Especially since Jared, you're not going to need, chemistry with Jared Goff for much longer. I'm sure they're going to want to get a quarterback.
And he's really fast. So he complements Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's more of just like an underneath receiver, really well too.
He's my guy.
The Lions are building something nice there. The Chicago Bears, they drafted 2 rookies of note. Technically 3 offensive rookies that would be for fantasy. They drafted Ty Chandler, or I'm sorry, not Ty. That's the Vikings.
Tyson Chandler?
No. The Bears drafted Velus Jones Jr. from Tennessee in the 3rd round. I'll get to him in a second.
Strong name.
They drafted Treston Ebner, the running back for Baylor in the 6th round, who right now they talk about him just being.
It's another strong name.
Yeah,
I was going to say kind of a weak name, but
ooh, no, it sounds like money. Treston Ebner.
I mean,
sounds
maybe
rich.
people have heard him for the first time on this show right now. But he's a 4.48 speed guy. They said potentially a change of pace guy who's going to catch balls and most likely just be on special teams. But the more of the other guy that I just brought up, Velus Jones Jr., 4.3 140. I think everybody was shocked when they took him over Jalen Tolbert, Calvin Austin III, David Bell. They already talked about him basically just being like a special teams guy, which in the 3rd round with a team that needs receivers, I was very kind of shocked to see, obviously, him get drafted there. But they said he's arguably the best returner in college football last season. So, I mean, he is a weapon. And for as much slander as he gets, he caught 62 passes last year, 807 yards, 7 touchdowns at Tennessee. I mean, he could step in and be the number 2 on this team if everything goes right.
Imagine getting a returner knowing that they're going to get rid of the kickoff in like a year.
Yeah. On top of that, like besides like Devin Hester, has there ever really been a returner that was good in college that also like did something crazy in the pros as well?
Yeah, because in college they kick it to the 15.
Exactly, and the hash marks are bigger. Like it's just drafting a player based on their like return ability. Like the Washington Commanders did that too with John Dotson. It's like if you're gonna draft somebody, draft them for their position. It shouldn't be a returner.
Yeah, I mean, that's his primary. I think right now, according to the ESPN depth charts, he's listed as the 3rd wide receiver behind Darnell Mooney and Byron Pringle. So I love me some Byron
Pringle. If Pringle sticks around, I don't know. Didn't he get in some trouble?
I love Pringle.
You can take the man out of Kansas City. You can't take the Kansas City.
Oh my God. Also note Equinius St. Brown and Dante Pettis are on this team too. And David Moore. Man. Daz Newsome. There's a good wide receiver room. Very
Daz Newsome, man. I thought he was going to be incredible.
Real quick, we'll touch on the Vikings rookies. Actually, they have literally almost no fantasy rookies to talk about. Ty Chandler, 5th round pick from North Carolina. At best, he's going to be the 3rd running back behind Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. I don't see him having any fantasy relevance this year.
Super handcuff that some people love to get.
Yeah. he's a bit more of a speedier guy, so maybe he can get some 3rd down work. Jalen Naylor, wide receiver out of Michigan State in the 6th, and Nick Muse, tight end out of South Carolina in the 7th round. I don't see either of these 3 being fantasy relevant for you this year, but maybe you could take a shot on Ty Chandler in a dynasty league later on in your draft, but he wasn't a great prospect. I didn't love his tape when I was studying stuff for it, looking at the running backs, but stranger things have happened. I mean, definitely not somebody I think we need to talk about very much. And how do you transition from Ty Chandler?
He's going to put that on the bulletin board.
Training camp.
All right, let's talk about every team's just free agents, what we expect from all the fantasy relevant guys. Back to you, Johnny, with the Green Bay Packers.
So
what do we need to know about them?
Well, we touched on them a little bit. We're starting on the wide receivers. I mean, it's funny that I've never seen so much boom or bust in one receiver room. Like, it is crazy. Sammy Watkins, that's his whole career, has been boom or bust. He's been that guy. He's memed for it. And then Lazard at least doesn't do it on a game-by-game basis, but he does on a half season here, a half season there. He was the type of player that you still weren't super set to start until the end of the season. So it's kind of interesting. Really, such high ceilings for everyone and such low floors coupled with that as well. And then, but I mean, you got to rank them. You go Lazard, Watson, Watkins, Rubes.
Oh, okay. I don't think Sammy Watkins plays half the season. Personally.
Yeah. You have hard feelings against him for nothing other than
I don't have hard feelings.
Missing some games.
He won us a Super Bowl. I've got no hard feelings against him. I think at this point in his career, you saw last year with the Ravens, he couldn't even stay healthy, and he's another year older too.
I just want him to move to a tight end role where he's just no
he's
blocking.
He's too small for that.
No blocking. No blocking. He's just a receiver. I would love just a receiving tight end role from him, just in the slot, matched up against linebackers.
Go the Kelvin Benjamin route.
Exactly.
Maybe.
The Kelvin Benjamin route to the food court.
What
Oh, stop it.
What can we expect from Allen Lazard? Could he be a top 24 wide receiver?
Oh yeah, easily. That's top 24. I mean, you
So
almost
wide
get that
receiver
just
2.
by virtue of being like a starting wide receiver on a team.
So I mean, so
There's only 32 teams. I think he's going to be on the top end of that spectrum.
So you'd feel comfortable, like if you're envisioning your starting lineup, if he was your wide receiver 2, you would feel okay with that, like going into the season.
I feel fantastic.
Okay, fair.
Like I said,
fair
he's got the chemistry with Rodgers. There's a lot of targets roaming around, which is why you upgrade Tunyon and you upgrade Aaron Jones just by virtue of him being a dual threat running back. AJ Dillon doesn't matter.
I have him outside my wide receiver 24, but I think Johnny's right. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he even figured his way into wide receiver 10 or better. Like, if you're going to be Rodgers' right-hand man, like, you're going to get plenty of targets.
And this is what I mean by he's like boomer bust. He was like wide receiver 8 for like the last like 6 games or something of the season like that. But he wasn't that great to start with at the beginning of the year. So there's a big gap of where he could land, but I think he definitely lands in the top 24.
I actually have him. I need to move him up in my rankings. I have him as wide receiver 44.
I'll take credit for that.
Let me ask you guys. Allen Lazard,
wildly low. That's like
well, if you see like all the names, when you see all the names out there,
low.
You're like, oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah,
like
you can. Like I said, like he's out of my 24, but like Dave said, like when you see all the names and all of their respective situations, like it's not hard to get Lazard down low.
Allen Lazard or Hollywood Brown?
Lazard. Oh, actually, yeah, Lazard.
I like Lazard. Yeah.
Hollywood Brown. I'm sorry, Allen Lazard.
We're now on the Hollywood Brown podcast.
Or Hunter Renfrow.
Ooh, selfishly Hunter Renfrow.
I'll go Lazard on that one.
I'll go Lazard too. Last one. Allen Lazard or a Russell Wilson-less Tyler Lockett?
Lazard. I didn't like Lockett when he had Wilson.
Boomer bust.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be bad. I don't know what to do with Seahawks wide receivers. When we get to the NFC West preview, that's going to be interesting because I don't really know. Some people have said DK Metcalf's out of their top 24.
Start Drew Lock, you cowards.
I mean, they're going to get so many targets because they're going to be losing every game, So it really.
But
is.
who's throwing them the ball?
Broncos last year. I mean.
Yeah, true.
Brad, why don't you talk about the Detroit Lions and what we can expect from that group?
Yeah, DJ Chark is the only free agent of note there. Just much like Jameson Williams, I'm going to be staying away from him. He's also primarily a vertical threat, and I teased it earlier, but my favorite stat for Goff that led me off of Jameson Williams and off of DJ Chark is that Goff's average depth per throw decreased each of the last 4 seasons, and he finished dead last year. So that projects well for running backs, tight ends, and underneath targets, but not the deep threats. Yeah,
I mean, Goff's never been a great deep ball thrower, so does that concern you at all for Jameson Williams since that's kind of his game?
Hands down. Yeah, so that's why I'm staying away from him. Like Chark and Williams are both speedy, quick, go get them 50-50 balls. Like you want them downfield, and that's kind of their role. And that's just not what Jared Goff does. And
is Chark on a 1 year?
Yeah. Chark's on a 1 year.
That might be the only reason you up him a little bit. You love to up a contract year.
That's fair.
Let me ask you,
still, like if I'm going to choose between him and somebody else, I'm not going to choose him based on his contract.
Let me ask you just a couple guys. DeAndre Swift, fantasy points, their PPR or rankings have him as RB10. Where do you have Swift? And then what about Hawkinson and Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Yeah, so Swift, he's the consensus RB11 on Fantasy Pros. Fantasy Points has him RB10. He's my RB19. I wouldn't say he's in a running back by committee, but he reminds me of Miles Sanders in the way that, he's been injured so much that the offense has learned to play without him or with him less than 100%, and that's given his backups roles in the offense.
I want to draft only against Brad, where I can get Alan Lazard at wide receiver 40, DeAndre Swift at running back.
I didn't have Lazard at 44.
I had him at 44, but Johnny, I'm going to bump him up after our conversation.
As for Hawkinson and St. Brown, Hawkinson is the consensus TE7. I have him as my TE9. I think St. Brown needs targets that he would have otherwise had. And, the fact that we didn't see his breakout last year kind of has me temper my expectations a bit. But St. Brown, I love. So he was incredible last year. He's consensus wide receiver 35, and I think that's about right. I could also see him exceeding that if Goff performs better than expected. He had 11 targets per game down the stretch with a 33% target share. He was wide receiver 3 in PPR leagues from weeks 13 through 18. He also has a tendency to disappear in the offense, so I worry about uneven and inconsistent game performances. But I think the routes he runs are suitable to Goff's game. He's an underneath guy that goes and gets yak. I really love St. Brown.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the biggest question mark. I think he was obviously one of the best wide receivers at the end of last year. I think he was the number 2 wide receiver the last 8 games of the season. He just was absolutely just on a tear.
So wide receiver 3, yeah. From weeks 13 through 18, he was wide receiver 3.
Yeah, and
he runs those underneath routes that Goff only throws, and maybe only because that's the only time he has because their line is bad. Maybe it's not all his fault, but the fact of the matter is he throws underneath routes, and that's St. Brown's specialty.
Did you say where you had Amon-Ra St. Brown ranked?
He's outside of my wide receiver 24.
Okay.
And he's consensus wide receiver 35.
Okay, so you got him probably as a tie-in flex play.
Yes.
Okay, that's
or
fair.
Wide receiver 3 flex. Yeah, he's in that range.
Okay,
But very draftable.
I have his wide receiver 32 right now, and again, I'm kind of with you on the same boat there.
To be honest, if you ask me Lazard or St. Brown, I would really have to think about it. I'd probably go Lazard, but St. Brown's going to have a lot of targets.
Yeah, especially with Jameson Williams, if he misses a good chunk of time, then it's pretty much Chark and Hawkinson as the 2 guys fighting for significant targets there.
And I don't know what Lazard looks like, with everybody's best corner on him. He's always been the 2 or the 3 in that wide receiving offense.
That's why we have to rewind and so we can get all our Rodgers takes out now. Aaron Rodgers takes.
I'll talk about the Bears real quick. Justin Fields, we know obviously what he can do. He scored at least 16.9 fantasy points in all of the 4 games he started and completed last season. 8.5 attempts for 64.2 rushing yards per game last year. 5 touchdowns over those 4 games on the ground. Expected to have better weapons this year, but that didn't necessarily come to fruition. If you'd asked me earlier on in the offseason, David Montgomery at the running back position, I think he's going to be a nice RB2 for you. 18 or more carries in 5 of the last 6 games, 30 receptions over that time, 21 or more PPR points in 2 of the last 3 games to finish the year. He's still the goal line back there. And, they did take some offensive linemen in the draft. So I think that there will be a better line for him to work with next season. So David Montgomery, I think, is somebody, RB 16 to 20 range, I think is fair for him. I know, Brad, you're a big David Montgomery guy. So I know that's lower than you. But
I was a bigger
RB1.
I was a bigger David Montgomery guy last year. This year I've got him RB 17.
Okay, so we're actually kind of close then.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I think I'm pulling up my ranks. I have Montgomery as RB 20 right now. So, but I might move. I have actually Gibson ahead of him, and not going to keep that. So I'm going to bump him to 18. And then Darnell Mooney's another obviously big player in this system from week 8 on. Averaged just over 15 fantasy points per game. The wide receiver 12 over the entire second half of the season. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 in Chicago this year, well over 100 targets, I would expect. But I mean, he's somebody that's very interesting to see where he goes in drafts.
What do you think of Justin Fields? Just
why do the Bears
not where do you have him? Just what do you think of him as a quarterback?
I mean, the way I look at it is he was thrust in a really bad situation. Matt Nagy, obviously not adjusting his playbook for Justin Fields' strength, which you got to do in today's day and age for quarterbacks. And obviously no real consistent receiving. Not like he has a bunch of great wide receivers on his team. And I mean, I just think he was set up to fail last year. I do think he made the best of a bad situation. I do think long term he's actually not a bad quarterback, and I think he'll be serviceable, like a better Jalen Hurts. What do you guys think? But also want to say shout out to Rigged who's in the chat, and then saying what's up to all the guys. What's up, man? Go ahead.
That's my guy. I love NBA Rigged.
So we're talking about Justin Fields. Are you not in on him, Brad?
As a unique entity, like as an individual entity, I like Justin Fields as my fantasy QB if I'm in like a no QB draft strategy where, I'm just going to get who's left after I fill out all the rest of my roster. In terms of, do I like his wide receivers? I just don't think he's there yet in his progression as a quarterback for me to want to get, Darnell Mooney.
I think I doubted Darnell Mooney every single week, even when he was doing well. It just always.
That's a great way to put it. Every week I doubt them. Like I'm never excited to start a Bears wide receiver, except for like Allen Robinson in his prime.
And Rigged ass Justin Fields over Jalen Hurts.
No,
for fantasy, no. I'm Jalen Hurts for fantasy. In
real
fantasy
life and real life.
Oh, in real life,
I feel like you're a Jalen Hurts hater.
Dude. You are a Jalen Hurts hater. I don't like that. Yeah,
I said Jalen Hurts over Justin Fields in fantasy.
Yeah, but then you're like already.
But you don't like him as a quarterback.
I think he misses too many throws. I think he's a good like dual threat player, but I just think like once his athleticism, like Lamar Jackson really improved as a passer, and now he's a good quarterback because he's a threat in both. I don't respect Jalen Hurts enough as a thrower yet, personally.
I hear you. Well, AJ Brown's gonna help that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like Jalen Hurts for fantasy. I think he's such a big target; like he can miss and still get him the ball. So,
and it's gonna make their running game more lethal too because you can't stack the box on them anymore.
And I mean, you got AJ Brown also. If he blocks, he's like an offensive lineman. He's huge. What would the Eagles look like with Justin Fields instead of Hurts? That's an interesting question.
What a great question. What a great question. I think the answer is worse, like Dave said. Or Johnny.
Worse?
Yeah, they look worse.
No, I think they'd look better.
So you just really respect Justin Fields as a passer?
I think he's a better passer than Jalen Hurts is.
I agree with that in college. Like I just haven't seen that in the NFL yet. Like I don't see.
He's with the Chicago Bears with like virtually arguably the worst like coaching staff last year.
You could have said that last year about the Eagles. He's with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
They made the playoffs
with Justin Fields. I mean, with Jalen Hurts.
But I'm saying, like, they had a better team around. They had a better defense. They had better wide receivers. They just drafted Devonta Smith. Dallas Goedert's there. You had Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney.
I like Cole Commet.
Well,
I like Allen Robinson. I mean, like, I don't think that, if we talk about potential, like just based off of what I've seen from both of them in college, I would agree with you. Justin Fields is the better passer, but what I've seen from them in the NFL, I don't even see Justin Fields as that great a passer.
You know what? I think
like Dwayne Haskins, he was great at Ohio State passing, and then he got to Washington, and for whatever reason, you just didn't see that same comfortability and that same zip just come on in the NFL. So I think it'll take time. I'm rooting for him, but I don't see it yet.
Well, we'll add that Rick says you're spot on. College, he's a better passer, but in Chicago, I haven't seen Snitch Zero as a passer yet.
That's my guy. Love anybody that agrees with me.
I do think this year with a more consistent coaching staff, that's why I'm like Justin Fields. I think again for fantasy, maybe he's not going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but in real life, I expect to see a big progression from him. The one guy I didn't talk about though, Cole Commet, like which Brad, I know you touched on him. He's somebody I think can really make a mark at the tight end position with the lack of targets out there that they can, he can have. Tight end 21 last year, despite not catching a touchdown, secured at least 5 targets at each of the final 7 games. And the target percentage and red zone looks all have gone up every year for him. So he's somebody that, if you decide to wait on tight end to like your last pick, he could be somebody that I could see being like a a Dawson Knox, right? Somebody that
100%.
like you pretty much pick up first week of the season, or you draft at your last pick, and he's tight end 2 through the first month of the season.
And they do have chemistry. Like even if you don't respect Justin Fields as a passer, he's got the connection with this tight end. I really like that.
Yeah.
Tight end 2 is a little high, but I'll let the reasoning stand.
Well, just for like, I'm not saying the whole season.
Ceiling.
I'm saying
he's
like
just saying ceiling performance. I could see that.
Yeah. Like if he's the first month he comes out there, he's the tight end 2. I could see it. Maybe finishes as like the tight end 7 or something.
Yeah.
Let's real quick touch on the Vikings. I know Doc's not here, so we'll kind of just anything you guys want to add for them. The Vikings, obviously, we talked about no really impact rookies this year. Kirk Cousins is still there at the quarterback position. I think with a new coach and Kevin Stefanski, or not Kevin Stefanski. He's from the Rams. I don't know why I can't remember his name at the top.
Doesn't matter.
But the guy from the Rams.
Everybody is who we thought they were. Like Dalvin Cook is who we thought he was. Justin Jefferson is who we thought he was.
Kevin O'Connell from the Rams, who's another young stud from the Rams coaching tree here. He's going to have I think, more of a passing team here than they've ever had. It's been run and play defense with Mike Zimmer. And I think that Kevin O'Connell is going to allow a lot more throwing this year than there's been in the past.
I'm not even sure that's a good thing. Like I'm with Johnny. Like people are who they thought they are. Like Dalvin Cook, you know what you're going to get. You can have him anywhere from your RB1 to RB like 6. Like he's going to be a great running back provided he stays healthy. And if he doesn't, you'll have his handcuff. On the wide receiver end, Adam Thielen, you know what he is. And if he stays healthy, he's a beast.
I think he's a sneaky good candidate this year, though.
Yeah. And you know, Jefferson as well. And if either one of them gets hurt, the other gets a big bump in targets. So Kirk Cousins, he's going to get you at least 30 touchdowns. The problem is he doesn't do it consistently each game. He's going to give you one game with 4 touchdowns and another game with 1 touchdown. And he's a very frustrating week-to-week performer, but he's very good. And then the only thing I have strong feelings about on this offense, I'm all the way out on Irv Smith Jr. I'm always thinking that he's going to break out. I'm always thinking that he's going to break out and have like a crazy
I didn't know you
year.
had to specify you were out on him. I thought people would have to say I'm in on Irv.
He's a sleeper. I mean, people are talking about him as a sleeper.
He's everybody's sleeper. He's everybody's sleeper in this offense because he's so athletic. He's so big. Kirk Cousins will hit him in the.
He was last year, and he was the year before.
Exactly. I'm tired of betting on him. I'm just out.
I do like that with Rick saying that. I think with a new play caller here, unlocking the Vikings wide receivers and locked it. I do think this is a new coaching staff that's going to have actually some good passing plays drawn up for these guys, not just relying.
That's one of those things where like you guys are 100% right and all the logic checks out. But it never ends up working like that. Like the players are who they are, and you know what you're gonna get from them, and it's high performance. But you know, it's just don't go expecting like some QB5 on the season from Kirk Cousins. Like that's just not what he is.
He could be a top 10 quarterback. It wouldn't surprise. Like he could be like QB10. It wouldn't surprise me.
He could be QB10.
So I mean that he's
you don't want to draft
to
QB10 at QB5, you know.
Well, no, I mean, you could draft probably Kirk Cousins in a single quarterback league, probably like the one last couple picks of your draft. And in a 2 quarterback league, he's a great second quarterback.
But that's not the guy that you know, if you're talking about QB5, you can't wait till the last 2 picks of your draft to get the true QB5. You have to reach a little bit. You know, if you're going no QB and Kirk Cousins falls to you, you're happy.
Rick, are you a Vikings fan? I'm just curious because he seems like he has a lot of Viking love.
He does have Vikings knowledge there.
The last question I'll ask you before we finish up. Justin Jefferson as the consensus wide receiver 2 this year behind Cooper Kupp. Or any of you, I've been seeing Twitter talk about it, and I'm starting to sway a certain way of putting Justin Jefferson at number 1 this year.
Ooh.
Because everybody's Cooper Kupp number 1. It almost never plays out. We talk about like Michael Thomas. You know, we did it with Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. We have these guys locked in at number 1 every year, and it never plays out exactly as we think. These guys have career years, and they still are good. Maybe he's like Cooper Kupp's like the number 3, 4 wide receiver next year. But to say that he could be the wide receiver 1 again, I think Jefferson has been so consistent new coaching staff there, like we talked about. I'm starting to believe in Justin Jefferson, the number 1 wide receiver next year. Where do you guys have him?
I have him wide receiver 4. I could see wide receiver 1. That I don't think that's a crazy take.
I think you can say that about anybody you have ranked in like your top 5 or even further down. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if my 5th best wide receiver was number 1. Like
that's what I was about to say. Like at the end of the day, like when we're talking about the elite of the elite, it's all just however it shakes out is how it shakes out. Like it's not going to surprise you. So the difference between 1 and 4 is really small.
Yeah, I mean, I'll love when we have we do our rankings debates once we finish our division previews, and we can kind of just throw it all out there, see where we're at, and that in the meantime we'll be able to kind of switch our rankings around and adjust as time goes along here. And Rigged is a Vikes. He loves the Vikes. I don't know about the best logo. I think as much as I hate to say
the Raiders.
I was gonna say the Raiders logo is pretty cool.
The Browns.
The Browns are so funny.
The ingenuity.
Just the helmet.
And our buddy Jacob, Cooper Kupp's floor is just crazy high. He's my wide receiver 1 with JJ and Chase right behind him.
Yeah, he's my wide receiver 1 too. But you're right, Dave. It never works out that way.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna have Cooper Kupp high up there. It's just a question if he's number 1 or not.
If the consensus rankings were always accurate, it wouldn't be a sport and it wouldn't be fun.
Right. That's why I'm like, hey,
it's our philosopher Johnny Foosball.
There we go. That's gonna wrap up the NFC North breakdown here. And Rick said, "Where's the logo?"
I'm joking, NBA Rick. Come on.
That's going to wrap up our NFC North fantasy preview here. If you guys enjoy the content, please make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. That really helps us out. If you guys are watching our videos consistently, just hit the subscribe button. You guys will get, 10 to 12 videos a week from us in your subscription feed, but all great fantasy content, entertainment. Johnny just dropped
maybe even a power hour.
Johnny just dropped a power hour there. So you're drinking with some friends.
You put on the drive. There's a TV show 1 in the works.
And check out our movie minutes.
That's right. Johnny basically said you guys want to watch some triple play fantasy talk, and then you want to drink and watch a power hour. It's all on the same channel. So it's great stuff there. And if you guys are listening to the podcast, you guys know, make sure you subscribe there. And if you haven't rated us, that always helps. Rating and reviews help there. And that'll probably wrap us up here. I was going to have you guys plug anything you have, but I guess movie minutes is on the way. Brad, you've been pumping out some videos recently.
I do. I'm gonna have a take on Miles Sanders dropping soon.
That's perfect. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. Tons of great content coming out here. And if you guys would also like to be
and NBA Riggs, shout out to him. We talked about that. Javonte Williams. He wants to have a Javonte Williams take. He's coming after Miles Sanders. Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
I like it. And he said Allen Robinson is a beast. And am I still a Lions? I did say the Lions could win the division this year. I'll stay true to that right now. I'm gonna stay true to that right now.
You should change that.
That was from a while ago. I gotta still hold with it this early on.
I don't think it's that bad.
The division is wide open.
It's not a strong division anymore. Aaron Rodgers will be unveiled as a fraud.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say here, if you guys are not part of the Triple Play Fantasy Discord, I don't know what you guys are doing. Please hop in there. We've got over 60 members right now. The group's always buzzing, fantasy questions, trade scenarios. We have a movie and video game section, people talking about great selections, and there's tons of great channels. So make sure you're part of that. If you would like to join, we will have a link in the description for that. And Matt, see, this is why I like plugging. Matt didn't know there was a Discord. Yeah, Matt, we got a Discord. I'll make sure I put it in the we'll put it in the description of the video. So make sure when this pops up on there, you can click it and join. But that's gonna wrap us up. Again, all that great plug socks all over. But until the next one, we're gonna make like a bread truck and we're gonna haul these buttons. Catch you guys